Yeah, we can see your screen.
So the interesting topic is the choroidal mass, when to investigate. So we'll start with it's not, slides are not, yeah. So the first case is the elderly gentleman who has been referred to us with the diagnosis of amelanotic melanoma with a very poor vision of counting fingers in the left eye. So if you look very carefully in the first picture on the left side, you will see the lesion is actually, it's a two-dimensional picture, but its lesion is almost flat and it's not elevated, and the margins of the lesions are not very clear. It's a very powdery appearance and it's ill-defined margins, especially on the inner and the temporal aspect. Also, the superotemporal aspect near the papillomacular bundle, you can see a lot of hemorrhages in the subretinal space. So this is very unusual for a melanoma to present like this. So since it was a flatter lesion, we did a OCT and FFA and an ICG, but I'll put the ICG picture first. So the ICG picture was very typical of a polypoidal lesion because you can see two small polyps on the superior aspect of the lesion. So the diagnosis is that this was basically a polypoidal lesion mimicking as a melanoma because the color was not red. So it was not red because the lesion had dehemoglobinized blood. So it was an older blood, so it was yellow, which confused the primary ophthalmologist. So what we did was, since it was an extrafoveal lesion, we just did laser. And this is what happened after laser, 2 months of the laser, and the lesion became quite good and the blood disappeared. It became 624. So the learning point from this is that not all lesions, amelanotic melanoma is very, very rare in India. And even the most amelanotic melanoma has pigmentation. It is never true amelanotic in nature. And always in these cases, especially if the lesions are very flat, ultrasound has no role. The best lesion to investigate these are an OCT, enhanced depth OCT, or you go ahead with and do an FFN ICG. The second case is a very interesting, which perplexed us for a lot of time. So this is the lady who is a known case of breast carcinoma, and she presented with right eye sudden onset diminution of vision, and the ophthalmologist noticed something in the macula and referred to us. If you see closely, there's a well-defined mass lesion in the yellowish subretinal lesion in the macular area. The FFA, now the catch point, if you look at the clinical picture, is the disc is little hyperemic. And if you do the FFA, the disc is showing staining and leakage. So metastasis will never have disc leakage unless the lesion is also affecting the optic nerve head. To confuse you, we'll present two cases side by side, which almost looks absolutely similar. So the top left is the case that I discussed, and the top right. So if you look closely, the left eye lesion, the margins of the lesions are well defined. The top right, the margins are not well defined. In fact, there are two small satellite lesions in the supratemporal lesions. The disc on the right is absolutely hyperemic. The right is absolutely normal. So the best, what will you do next in this? There's no role for a B scan. It's absolutely flat lesion. There is no role for MRI brain and orbit. It will not pick it up. So the best is OCT. So the OCT, if you see the top is the case that I presented, the first case. If you see the lesion, the RP is elevated. Most importantly, if you look closely, there are hyperreflective foci present throughout all the layers of the retina, even in the choroid. So these hyperreflective foci are very, very suggestive of an inflammatory lesion. So what you are dealing with is actually a posterior scleritis, which is mimicking as a mass lesion. If you look closely to the second case below the OCT, the lesion, the elevation, the RP is showing undulations. So this undulation is called a lumpy bumpy sign, and this is very typical of a metastasis. And here what you see, there is no hyperreflective foci. And most importantly, if you see the area behind the RP, it's totally black. So that is backshadowing. So there's something in the choroid which is actually pushing up the RP layer, which is suggestive of metastasis. And this lady, this person actually had a lung cancer, and the lady actually who had a breast cancer did not have a metastasis, but had a inflammatory lesion. So OCT, the take home from this is that OCT is the modality of choice, and there's a rule of 30%. 30% of primary cancers will not have any ocular findings. 30% will present with ocular as well as findings on the systemic findings, and 30% will only have ocular findings and no systemic features. So this is my last slide, which is just showing you how to go about if you see a choroidal mass. Always look at the onset, duration, and progress. If the progression is very fast, onset is very sudden, you're mostly not dealing with a cancerous lesion. Mostly it's inflammatory lesion. Always look at the topography of the lesion, the surface, margin. Spend some time in the clinical examination. Don't jump into OCT, FFA, MRI, and else. Always choose OCT if the lesion is less than 3. Choose USG if it's more than 3. FFA ICG has great roles, but it is mostly to rule out other mimic conditions. Don't jump into PET scan if you're thinking of a cancer. You can do a humble X-ray chest. You can do a USG abdomen and pelvis mammography, and which will rule out most of the cases. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Bikram. Those were very interesting cases. Could you throw some light on cancer-associated retinopathy and melanoma-associated retinopathy? How common are they, and what are the clinical tips?
So I'll just add one more entity. It's called BDUMP. It's called benign diffuse uveal melanocytic proliferations. So CAR, MAR, and BDUMP are definitely some things which are not very common. Definitely they are there, but they will not have a diagnosis. They are diagnosis of exclusion, basically. You will not differentiate. The patient should have a diagnosis of cancer somewhere to call it as a CAR. And cancer-associated retinopathy. And the findings on the clinical picture can mimic retinitis pigmentosa very commonly. And they can even mimic a retinal vascular occlusion. So the diagnosis in these are difficult, very, very difficult. And it's definitely not so common that we come across.
Bikram, sir.
Nice cases, Dr. Bikramji. Fantastic. Very self-explanatory your presentation was.
Thank you, sir.
Just one doubt I had. Now, since these are all choroidal lesions, and when we do OCT, we are mainly, focusing on the retina. So for these lesions, normal and SD OCT will show these kind of lesions, or you have to do a enhanced depth imaging OCT or a different kind of OCT.
The most of the pictures that I presented, I don't have an access to a high-end Spectralis OCT. Most of these are on a TopCon machine, which I have done, which are not so high-end. And most of the lesions can be done on a simple OCT like Zeiss and TopCon Maestro and Hewitts can be done. You don't need a higher-end machine, enhanced depth to really go through, because the lesions will, even a choroidal lesion will show its face on the retina. And most of these, there is an excellent paper by Dr. Shields' group. I'll suggest if anybody has time to go through it. Most of these are shown on the RP outer layer region, and if you closely observe those layers, like there is something called as lumpy bumpy, there is something called as a boat sign. The multiple signs have been given. If you look closely, you can diagnose most of these cases, provided we spend some time with the OCT.
Thank you.
Probably because of the choroidal elevation, the zero line of the OCT, which is like the reference point, it comes actually in the retinal level only, because the choroid pushes it up. So we don't need the high-end OCTs.